Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. My name is Deborah. I'm really pleased to be here today. And I must share with you that this is the second time I've been here today because I scrapped the first time. The reason why I've done that is because I'm using this podcast episode to have a little practice of my women's health, menopause, and weight loss event that I am hosting this evening. And I have been so immersed in the preparation and everything that goes along with hosting an event. And obviously, knowing what I'm saying, presenting my slides. I've had women fill in forms prior to the event with any questions and any topics that they are struggling with and that I can include in my presentation. And I've put it all together. I've created slides. I've recorded a YouTube video as well with the entire presentation as a way of practicing. I did that the other day. And if you were unable to attend the in person event and you would like a copy of the full presentation, you just need to message me through any of my social medias or my email. And you can ask me for the presentation, just say Women's Health Presentation, and I will send you the link so that you can watch it. Now, I wanted to use this podcast outside of the YouTube practice because it's a very long video, it's a very long presentation, and there's only so much information you can take in. There's only so long you're going to listen to a podcast for, and I like to keep my episodes quite punchy. And I have decided that I'm going to record podcasts on all of the elements of the health event that I'm hosting tonight, but break it down into sections. And that way you can flick between the sections, you can prioritize what's most important to you, and it's not going to take up as much of your valuable time or your brain power to listen and absorb the information I'm going to be talking about. Now, what I thought I'd talk about and practice now is the impacts of menopause on your health. Interestingly, from the forms, I've gathered information on age and most common struggles. And 99% of the forms received back from those ladies coming tonight are all struggling with the impacts of menopause symptoms. I've had a lot of questions regarding menopause and weight gain. Seems to be something that most women are struggling with. And so the goals for many women is weight loss, but also managing menopause symptoms. So I wanted to talk about that today. I coach and help a lot of women going through menopause, no matter what stage of menopause, whether it's peri, whether it's going through menopause, whether it's postmenopausal. And it's more apparent, and their awareness now is so much higher. And it's great because coaches like me can help women like you. Now, one thing I do know that going through menopause can sometimes feel like a very lonely experience. You can feel like you're the only person struggling and that everyone else seems to be sailing through and not having any problems. And what I'd like to say is that you're certainly not the only person. And while some ladies may have experience less symptoms and look like they're sailing through, there are many women who are struggling. And I know that it can feel very debilitating for many women. And you're trying really hard and you feel like nothing that you're doing seems to work. And it can just leave you feeling very despondent and almost like you're stuck and at a loss at what you can do to support the way you feel, your health, and also the goals that you may have and that you want to work towards. Now, before I talk about menopause symptoms and the impact and the risks and what's happening through menopause, I first want to cover HRT because a lot of the questions that came in from the questionnaires are about HRT. Now, it's really important that I say this first, and that is I am not a doctor. And in the first instance, you always need to seek medical advice. I am not qualified. I am not medically trained to be able to advise whether HRT is right for you, how long you should stay on it, what type of HRT, if it's safe for you to stop taking it. Like, I cannot answer any of those questions. What I can say is that if you are experiencing symptoms, it is always the first port of call is always going to see your doctor. Now, one thing about HRT that I do want to talk and cover is because the questions in the form, there seems to be a lot of worry and concern about whether HRT is right for an individual. And obviously, HRT can be very helpful, but it's not always suitable for everybody. And this is why you need to see a doctor, because your medical history needs to be taken into consideration and your risks looked at as an individual. Now, the risks of taking HRT was very much blown up in the media after a clinical trial that was done in the late 1990s in the USA. And the results of that trial showed that the risks far outweighed the benefits of taking HRT. And the results were put into the media. From what I understand, they weren't supposed to be put out into the public domain, but it created worldwide panic, and guidance for doctors on prescribing HRT was reviewed. And the clear message from the media was that HRT had more risks than benefits for women. Now, what the trial was trying to find out was, would taking HRT reduce risk of heart disease and all-cause mortality? And all-cause mortality is any reason for death. Now, what the study failed to share with the public was that the study was already done on postmenopausal women. So they were of an older age and they were caught in the latter stages or completely postmenopausal. And so, of course, taking HRT at that time would not have shown the benefits, because we now know that the earlier you can start taking HRT, as soon as you start to notice symptoms and you may be moving into perimenopause, it can be very beneficial for the right women who are able to take HRT to take HRT. It's important to also understand that menopause is basically a deficiency in your estrogen hormone. For some women, depending if you still have a menstrual cycle, you may be prescribed from the doctor estrogen and progesterone. And for some women, you may even be prescribed testosterone. So it is a hormone deficiency. And what HRT does, it's a hormone replacement therapy, is depending on the type that you've been advised, is you would take additional hormones to rebalance your hormones within your body. Now, hormones, you're a human being and your hormones will fluctuate. This happens, this is normal. So even though you may be taking HRT, there are certain times of the months where your hormones may, fluctuate, come out of balance. And if you think back to when you had your menstrual cycle, you have fluctuating levels of progesterone and estrogen, depending which part of your cycle you were in. And so your hormones are always changing as we go through our day-to-day life. Now, HRT, if you are able to take it, is going to help increase your estrogen and therefore manage your hormone levels. If you are unable to take HRT, and even if you are taking HRT, your symptoms can still present themselves. They don't magically disappear. And it's important to recognize that some of the symptoms can be very debilitating on your health, how you feel, and how you show up for yourself every day. It can affect your weight as well as your health. And it can feel quite a difficult time for a lot of women. Everything feels so much harder. Now, obviously, I'm being very general. I'm not specifically addressing your individual symptoms. I'm speaking very generically, but generally, everything seems so much harder. Your menopause symptoms, I'm not going to go through each and every menopause symptoms. I'm going to talk about the main ones that tend to impact health, weight loss, and how you feel. And that is sleep. Seems to be a real issue. Some women have trouble getting to sleep. Some women have trouble staying asleep. And when you have poor sleep or lack of sleep or not enough sleep, it can really affect your mood. It can affect your energy levels. It can affect your motivation levels. It can leave you feeling completely depleted of any energy, mood, and motivation. And this affects how you feel, and it affects you being able to do what you know you need to do in order to feel better, but it feels like you're walking against the wind constantly, uphill against the wind with a brick wall in front of you. It can feel really, really difficult. Now, alongside poor sleep, it can also, and energy and mood can also reduce your cognitive function. Cognitive function is your ability to think, your memory, to process, to use your brain, to make decisions, to multitask. And it's generally known as brain fog. And it is a real thing. And the research is ongoing in brain fog. And I'm not going to talk about all the research because I have a lot to cover in my health event. So I'm touching on all the topics. And obviously, this podcast episode is all about menopause. Now, alongside this, because of your hormones, it can lead to a change in body shape. It can lead to weight gain. And it can also increase your hunger and your cravings, which is not conducive to when you have a weight loss goal or when you're trying to do the best for yourself. When you go through these changes, it can leave you feeling a very low body image, unhappy in the body that you're in. And this can lead to very low mood, low well-being, and all this can have a knock-on effect on all the other things that you need to do to support your health that you know you need to do. But it's a bit of a cycle. Now, along with these day-to-day symptoms, there is also a risk to your health. You are more at risk of heart disease in menopause. You are also at risk of a decrease in your bone density, and you are also at risk in a decline in your muscle mass. And I'm going to talk about this in the talk a lot more when I talk about exercise and movement. But generally, even if you're not in menopause, women, when you reach the age of 30, your muscle breaks down. You are more at risk for a reduction in muscle mass. If you lose an excess of muscle, it can lead to sarcopenia. And it's really important that you maintain at the very minimum the muscle that you have. And ideally, you want to build that muscle to support your long-term health, to support aging, to better manage those menopause symptoms, and to improve the quality and the longevity of your life. Now, I want to touch on the change in body shape because you may have noticed that your body has changed. Now, this doesn't necessarily happen to all women. Some women don't experience this at all. And there is something in menopause called body fat redistribution. And what this means is that your fat cells, where they may have been more around your hips, and where you held body fat was more around, say, your hips and your bum. And then all of a sudden you're noticing that you've got like a stomach. You're holding fat around your stomach area, and you never used to. And it's like you haven't done anything different, but all of a sudden it's changed. And body fat redistribution can increase by about 3-ish%, which is approximately 5.5 centimeters on your waist circumference. So it's quite a noticeable amount for some women. Now, you can do something about that. And I will be talking about that more in the health event. But I want to continue talking about menopause. I want to talk about why things feel so much harder. And I often hear from the clients I coach and from women I speak to, they say to me, I never struggled with my weight in my 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s. Like, I've always been healthy, I've always been active, and I've always felt great. And whatever I did in my 20s and 30s just doesn't seem to work anymore. And could it be my metabolism? Is my metabolism broken? And what I explain to people, the women that ask me, is your metabolism isn't broken. It doesn't need a kickstart. It doesn't need speeding up. It can be made to work a bit more efficiently via your nutrition and your activity. That's a topic on its own. And I have actually recorded a separate podcast episode. I can't remember the title, but I think it's Is My Metabolism Broken? So if this sounds or resonates with you, please do go back and listen to it. it's very, very helpful. And it's going to talk in greater depth about what I'm going to go on to talk to. Now, it's really easy to want to compare yourself to somebody else, right? We do that quite easily. I would never recommend that because we're all different. But it can be as unhelpful to compare yourself to someone else, can also be really unhelpful to compare yourself to yourself, because we are not the same person we were in our 20s. We are not the same person that we were in our 30s. I wasn't the same person I was a year ago. And sometimes we can not be the person we were a few months ago. We change and we evolve, and our lives look different depending the stage of life that we were in. It's really easy to say to your friend or a family member, your husband, or just to yourself, and you think to yourself, oh God, when I got married, I weighed 8.5 stone, or I remember when I fit into that size 8 jeans, or I remember how I looked on XYZ day. I remember, and you remember these moments of time in your past. But like all memories, we always remember the really good bits. What we don't remember is the rest of our life and how it looked. Now, you can't see this because we're on a podcast. If I can upload a picture to the podcast and you're watching in video format, then you might see it. I will try that once I upload it. But on my screen now, because I'm looking at my presentation, I've got 3 photos on my screen. One is from my 20s, one is from my 30s, and one is from my 50s. And the one in my 20s is I am upside down. Someone is holding my legs. My arms are flaying above my head, and I'm in a bar and I'm having a wild time. I'm out, I'm socializing, I'm, having a great night. Most of my nights, I was burning the candle at both ends. I worked hard. I was in fitness. I was very active. I was on my feet all day and living my best life. And I burnt the candle at both ends. I was out every evening. I was going to nightclubs, dancing on podiums, tables, you name it. I was out. My life looked like that in my 20s. My life certainly doesn't look like that now. And then I've got a picture on the screen of me with my 3 young children. I had 3 children under 5 at one point in my life. And I was really bloody busy with those children. And I remember someone saying to me, oh, I'm always running after my children. This was before I had kids. And I'm like, what do you mean? How do you run after children like babies? How do you run after young children? They're little. Surely you can run faster. It's only when I had my own kids that I realized what that expression meant. I was constantly running after my kids. And it's not about physically running. It's just the relentlessness of looking after children and being there and doing what's needed. It's like very non-stop. I was busy and I was also working. Now, I may not have been going out as much, but I was busy. That's how my life looked then. And then the third picture on my screen is me in my 50s, sat at my desk in my office. My job is very sedentary. I'm an online women's health and weight loss coach. I coach women anywhere in the world online at my desk. My life is very sedentary. I'm no longer running after my children. I'm driving them. Well, my youngest now, the last one, I'm still driving her around. Other than that, I don't run after them. I'm certainly not dancing on tables or going to nightclubs, and my life is a lot more sedentary. So for me to hanker after what I looked like in my 20s would be really unrealistic because my lifestyle looks totally different. And it's really important to recognize this and why it's really unhelpful to compare yourself to yourself. Now, what can you do? Because it's all is not lost. There is something that you can do. I was asked, before I give you the solution on what you can do, I was asked, is there any specific menopause diet? Should I be doing a specific nutrition for menopause? Should I be doing a special workout or a special menopause exercise program? And in the middle of my slide, I have a really small X. And that small X, because I didn't want to put it in my lady's face when they come to the health event, and that is there is no specific diet. There is no specific advice. There is no specific workout plan. Now, I know that you're hoping I'm going to say to you, I have the solution. Here it is. It's a special menopause plan, and I'm going to sell it to you, and you're going to be excited by this special plan, and you're tempted, you're going to want to buy it. Now, I don't do that. I'm an authentic, genuine, evidence-based coach, and I'm telling you that there is no special menopause diet. What there is, however, are considerations. And this is what makes the difference. And this is what makes the difference when I coach women. I don't treat my menopausal women in the same way if I was coaching someone who was 20. And I wouldn't treat someone of menopausal age like a client I treat in my 20s. Their lives look different. The considerations are different. And for ladies going through menopause, it's really important to recognize that symptoms can be very debilitating. Some women are struggling with severe symptoms. It's really impacting their mood and how they feel. We know that. There are many lifestyle factors that you can do to support your goals and your health. I know you're looking for a magic solution. And trust me, if I had a wand and I could wave it, I would wave it. But I cannot wave it. And it does take effort and it does take knowledge. And this is what I'm going to be sharing at my health event. And if you're listening to this and you do live local to me in the Abbots Langley, Watford, Hertfordshire area, and you're like, I wish I'd have gone, there will be follow-up events. You need to not miss out on this next one because they are very, very informative and very helpful and very honest. Now, there are things that you can do, but we need to have considerations. You do need to increase your daily movement and you do need to exercise, but we also need to work with your body and recognize that sometimes doing little and often is going to be better than thinking you've got to go in the gym and do hour-long workouts or do exercises that might feel uncomfortable for you. We need to take that into consideration. We need to look at perhaps doing little workouts, shorter workouts, but more frequently. You will still get a lot of benefits. 20 minutes 3 times a week will impact your health, positively impact your health considerably. We also need to look at supporting your body image and how we can help you manage how you think and feel about yourself. Body image is not necessarily your physical body. It's how you feel and think and perceive of your body. It's your thoughts and feelings around your body. That needs support. That needs guidance. That needs reassurance and the support often of a coach. Body image is transient. We all have low body image days, but when you're going through menopause and you're struggling with day-to-day life, sometimes every day, it can really take a hit. So we need to support your mental well-being. And we also need to show ourselves self-compassion. And this sometimes goes amiss. And I want to talk about self-compassion. Now, self-compassion is where you're putting your best interests at heart. It's where you're showing yourself kindness and care because you want to do the best for yourself. Self-compassion doesn't mean being soft on yourself. Self-compassion can mean doing the thing that's right for you. And that can look different at different times. So sometimes it can mean, if you're not feeling great, low mood, low energy, you had a poor night's sleep, it could mean recognizing that you're exhausted. It could mean relaxing on the sofa. It could mean watching Netflix, relaxing, get the duvet out, chill out. It could also mean telling yourself, get your bum off that sofa and get yourself out for the walk that you know is going to make you feel great. And that is self-compassion, is doing what's best for yourself. And it will look different at different times. So you need to think about how you can show your self-compassion and when the firmer approach with your best interests at heart is the right decision. And when it comes to low energy and motivation, it doesn't matter what stage of life you are in. Motivation is not a feeling. You don't feel motivated. We use the word, I feel motivated. It's a figure of speech. But motivation is something you feel as a result of taking action. So you go on the walk, you feel, you've done some movement. Movement makes you feel good. You've had fresh air. You've not just come in from a day at the office, sat down in the home and just done the normal thing. You've actually set yourself some time aside to go for a walk. And it can be as little as 10 minutes. And that might be the right course of action for you to show yourself self-compassion, to support your mental well-being, to give you more motivation. You're not going to magically feel motivated. It really doesn't happen. Motivation is driven by the actions you take. And when you feel motivated as a result of taking those actions, you start to feel better. You start to feel more well. You start to make more progress towards your goal. And that is really bloody motivating. So remember that. I'm a really big believer in doing what makes you feel good. And it kind of ties in with self-compassion because it can look different at different times. But when you feel good, you will more likely do more things in your day that continue to make you feel good and repeat them the next day, the next day, and the next day. When you feel good, it has a positive impact on your health. And when you're going through menopause, we need to support your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and recognizing what you can do to support that is my next episode, where I'm going to be covering movement and exercise. I will also be doing excuse me. Let me just take a quick drink. Hold on. We will also be talking about, I will also record an episode on nutrition and basics about nutrition and what you can do, how to implement these things, and how you can help yourself. And of course, you can always reach out to me. I love helping women. And I'm available for you to ask questions. If you want any topics covered on my podcast, you can always get in touch with me in any of the methods. And like I say, if you want the full YouTube presentation, just get in touch and I will send you the link. But in terms of menopause, just to finish off and summarize, please know that you're not alone. Please know that you don't need to compare yourself to somebody else. If they are struggling with more severe symptoms than you, it's okay to feel good. You don't have to feel embarrassed by that. On the flip side, if you're really struggling, don't compare yourself to someone that's sailing through. We need to look at you. You need to focus on you. Remember about how to support and take those things into consideration. One thing that I want to just cover off that I should have done earlier was talking about sleep, because it is one of the things that really impacts, one of the symptoms that really impacts menopause. And it's not as easy as saying, well, you need to get more sleep, go to bed earlier. But there are things you can do to set yourself up better. And I use this with my clients. Now, if you're not already in a bedtime wake time routine, it's going to be very beneficial to get into a bedtime wake time routine. What does that mean? It means that you have a bedtime. It means you set a bedtime and you stick to it. It might be a little later on a weekend, but during the week, your bedtime is your bedtime. And you wake up at the same time every day. Again, on a weekend, it might be slightly later, but it's like within an hour or so of your set times. If you have an Apple phone, if you go into your health app, there is a sleep function in there where you can set a bedtime and a wake time. And it gives you like a little of a notification to say you're approaching your bedtime. And that notification gives you time to think about bringing yourself into a relaxed state, to stop mindlessly scrolling on your phone or being exposed to blue light. Even if you're in blue light glasses, you scrolling on your phone, looking at what everyone's doing on social media can be very triggering. It's not very relaxing. Your heart rate's probably going up. It's not a way that you want to get yourself into a relaxed state for sleep. Ideally, a minimum 30 minutes before bed is when you want to come off your phone. If you're a coffee drinker, don't be drinking after like the very latest 1 o'clock. Your caffeine can hang around, stay in your body for a lot long after that. So you want to try and reduce any caffeine. You can obviously go to decaf as a lesser method of caffeine, but you want to be setting that bedtime and you want to be going up to bed in a relaxed state. Now, what I do is I prepare my room earlier on in the evening for bed. I draw my curtains. I have a window open, even when it was -4 the other day. I need fresh air, right? I get hot at night. I'm sweating and I need fresh air. And I don't care how cold the husband is, he can get another duvet. But I don't want to be in bed sweating when I need fresh air. So I get my room into a cool and calm environment. I have a side lamp on. I don't switch lights on. It's very calming. I might read before bed in those minutes leading up to bedtime. I might read. And then when it's my set bedtime, the light goes off, the book goes down. I mean, I never, to be honest with you, my book, I read on a Kindle. My eyes are closing before I've even like I'll be lucky if I get 2 pages. My eyes are closing. I'm ready for bed. Sometimes I will play a guided meditation and put it on a timer on Spotify. I know that means having your phone by your bed, but I'm very strict and just put on my guided meditation. All my notifications are off and I get myself into a relaxed state. It turns itself off, helps me do deep breathing. It's a really nice way to go to sleep. And I get up at the same time each day. Some days, a little bit later, some days a little bit earlier. And it helps regulate my circadian rhythm, and it will do the same for you. And then if you get a better night's sleep, it will support your mood and it will support your energy and it will help you feel a lot better. Now, for the exercise and nutrition components, you'll have to tune in to my next podcast episodes. Please feel free to ask me any questions. And if there's anything else I can help you with, please do reach out. And I look forward to catching up with you on the next one.